they shoot the three-pointer well. That's an area you guys kind of struggled in all year. What do you guys need to do better to defend that?
Well, they make it hard because Lopez rolling and Marcus Aldridge is one of the best power forwards in the game. So you got to be really alert. You got to be really urgent. Your body positioning on certain actions is really critical. And then transition is really important because it's not necessarily always the first guy with the ball or the initial attack that gets you transition, but maybe the extra pass on the weak side.
Defending the three is actually, one of your guys' strengths last year. Is that just, you guys obviously have changed scheme and stuff like that, but what?
Really haven't done much changing of scheme. I think we've tried to be a little bit more aggressive up the court, but even then we haven't. In the half court, we've been very similar with regard to how we've defended pick and rolls as far as scheming goes. Now we've tried to be at times a little bit more aggressive on the pick and roll as far as the middle, but the bottom line is that we're not getting out well enough in challenging. But at the same time, I think that they're, as far as how we're guarding certain actions, it's still, been secondary to transition. And we were better in transition Friday night, but that's still the major, problem for us as far as the numbers have gone this year, in my opinion.
Right, what's your take on the dribble penetration of opponents and just where that ranks in terms of concerns, not just tonight, but just in general?
Well, I think, certainly it's a concern. I think more so the, just being able to hold our ground physically on the interior is a huge concern. That is something that we just have to, again, do better at the point of attack. Because once the ball gets to the rim, it's not going to be as easy for us to do anything about it. You saw that the other night, just from the physicality standpoint of the Gasol, Randolph, guys like that. Marcus Aldridge and Lopez are bigger. We've got to make sure that we do a great job early on and do your work early. And this is all stuff that's, pretty elementary as far as discussion goes, but it's easier said than done. And we've just got to continue to try to do a better job doing it.
You were planning on having Rondo and Bradley and Smart pressure the ball. I know Smart's been out, but why?
Well, not Rondo as much, but certainly Bradley, Smart, Pressey, those guys.
So why hasn't that worked out as well as you know?
Well, first of all, right now you got one on the court at a time at most, in Bradley and Pressey, and it's worked at times. But I think at the end of the day, you're not going to speed up their main point guard, and you might wear on them towards the end of the game. It's better if you can do it by committee. I think our pressure at times has put us out of position on drives, which is a problem. So we just have to continue to build on who we have out on the court and what they're good at and what they do well, and try to be the best that we can be within those schemes and put the appropriate amount of pressure on the ball. There's some things, Bill, where you pressure appropriately based on who you're guarding, right? If you're 10 times quicker than I am, I can't get into you, right? But I might be able to get into Mark if I feel like I've got an advantage on Mark. And I just think, and I don't think that's the case. But Steve told me on the way in that was the case. So, I think that you just have to, sometimes it's about who you're playing too.
I've always been slow.
Is that right? Well, it'd be a heck of a fun battle to watch between us then.
Well, watch his elbows.
Yeah.
Right. You said James Young to Idaho, but it's on Maine. But
yeah, not Idaho.
To Maine,
yeah.
Not Dwight. Why was that? How long do you expect James to stay?
James will be back tomorrow. We decided, and after some talk, after some deliberation, that the idea of potentially not playing versus the idea of playing 30+ minutes, as far as his game conditioning, as far as his overall development, they're trying to play exactly like we're trying to play. So there's no, he's just going to be able to go and fit in and do that. We sent James because, he didn't get a chance to go up there the first time. And then Dwight, is a guy that we could see using in spots tonight, especially defensively.
How do you win the battle?
Does James have in terms of scratching the surface, what the NBA is all about for a guy like that? How much work is it?
He's got some work to do, Mark. I really thought he was really on his way and maybe even ahead of where we thought he'd be before he got hurt in the preseason. And that clearly hurt him. We played 6 or 7 games without him. That's more practice time without him. And that hurt. That hurt him. But, that's why these nights are so important, because it gives him a chance to, be playing and kind of get that stuff that he missed, you know, the opportunity to do that. So I think it's a good idea for him.
But you lost Sheldon early, you lost Gordon to leave early.
Yeah.
James, your first one and out guy. What was your thoughts on that rule? And is it a situation where he's just got to kind of become an NBA player and go through this
So my
process?
thoughts on the rule have always been my own personal opinion. Not to say it's right, but has always been you can either go out of high school or you should go for 2 or 3 years. And you know, I just think, you know, when kids are 18, they can do a lot of things. They should be able to go pro. And at the same time, if they're going to go to school, I think it's best for the development of them and the best for everybody if it's a little bit extra time. But that being said, you know, I've been impressed with his maturity and his approach. And so, even though he's very young, and he still has to continue to strive to get better, and physically will get better, and learning the game will get better. He's still, you know, I can't say he's not ready.
Any thoughts on when Marcus might be able to practice this week? If he might be able to practice?
Middle of the week, they're targeting for hopefully to practice. So, what that means for Friday, I don't know.
At this point, he's been old enough. I mean, what does it take to get back into just playing shape, not just basketball?
Well, that's a good question, Mark. He's been doing his work in the weight room as far as conditioning goes. So he hasn't gotten a lot of basketball specific conditioning. So we'll see how much work he needs to do once he gets back out on the court. That's a concern, certainly.
Brad, Vitor said he hasn't done anything basketball-wise since he got hurt. The injury was projected 6 to 8 weeks, like 6 weeks. What do you see from him?
Yeah, so I don't know, Gary, to be honest. You know, when he initially had that surgery, I heard 6 to 8 weeks, just like you did. And you know, I've been told it's going to go longer than that, probably well into December, maybe first of the year. So you know, I hate standing up here and acting like I know medically what's going on, but I know that he's frustrated, and I know that he's working every day, and they're working with him.
When you say back, you want to practice?
No, you know what I had thought was he'd be practicing sometime in December, but again, I don't want to put a timeline on him because, you know, I'm speculating now. So, you know, we'd be hopeful that he'd be practicing sometime in December and maybe ready to play by the first of the year.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Brad.